Hi, I'm Victoria from GrowthMate. In video 3, we look at how to evaluate websites' organic visibility and understand where its backlink strength comes from. We review DR and UR, traffic, keywords, audience geography, backlinks, and referring domains. But even a strong inbound profile does not guarantee that the website is a link placement opportunity. In this video, we will examine the other side of a link prospect, where the website links out, whether it behaves like a link farm, where its traffic is actually concentrated, which pages created its DR, and whether the exact URL planned for the backlink has a real value. Let's begin with a simple question. We have already seen what the website receives from other sources. What does it give out? To answer that, we look at link domains and outbound links. Link domains is the number of unique external domains that the website itself links to. This metric helps us understand the scale of its outbound profile, but the number alone proves nothing. We need to know which websites it links to, whether those resources match the topics of the articles, what anchor text is used, and whether the same placement pattern repeats from one article to another. Imagine a typical SaaS blog. It writes about its own product, the problems its audience faces, industry trends, and related tools. In this type of content, it is natural to link to research, official statistics, pattern, or a few useful services. Now imagine that the same blog links out to thousands of domains. Among them are casinos, loan websites, SS services, random stores, and dozens of SaaS products unrelated to the topic of the articles. Every post contains several commercial anchors, and the placement structure repeats almost unchanged. In that situation, a large number of linked domains no longer looks like normal editorial behavior. It may indicate that the blog is being used primarily to sell or exchange links. However, we cannot apply the same standard to every type of website. For a directory, listing site, or marketplace, a large number of outbound domains is a part of a product itself. News publication often linked to original resources, official statements, and other media outlets. Review platforms mention dozens of tools, while large educational websites may include extensive lists of research and references. That is why there is no correct ratio between linked domains and referring domains. Thousands of outbound links may be normal for a directory and highly unusual for a small corporate blog. The review, therefore, begins not with a ratio, but with identifying the type of website. First, ask what kind of resource it is: a product blog, industry publication, aggregator, directory, marketplace, or informational website. Then compare the outbound profile with what would logically be expected from that format. After that, we need to open the outbound links themselves. The number only shows the scale. The quality becomes visible at the page level. We check whether the links lead to relevant sources and useful resources, or to commercial pages from unrelated niches. We look at whether the anchors are natural and descriptive or heavily optimized. We also search for a repeated pattern: the same number of links, the same position in the text, similar sentences, and articles that appear to follow one template. One commercial link does not make a website a link farm, but when unnatural outbound links repeat across dozens of articles, it is no longer an exception. It is a business model. It is especially useful to open several recent articles in a row. One post may be an exception, but a series of posts quickly reveals the editorial logic. If the topics constantly jump between unrelated niches, authors have no profiles, and every article contains a commercial link in a similar position, we are not looking at the weak article. We are looking at the repeatable product line. There is also a technical reason to be careful with overloaded pages. When an article links to a large number of URLs, its link signals are distributed across more destinations. Even a completely legitimate website may provide a weaker placement if the specific page has become a list of dozens of external links. So the main question is not how many domains does this website link to. It is why does it link to them, and does that behavior look natural for this type of website? After reviewing the nature of outbound links, we should look at the types of links the website itself receives. Ahrefs reports can show the distribution of follow, nofollow, sponsored, and UGC links. These attributes describe different placement conditions. Sponsored is used for advertising and paid integration. UGC is used for links in comments, forums, and other user-generated content. Nofollow is used when a website does not want to pass normal ranking credit or associate itself with the destination page. There is no universal natural ratio here. A high share of UGC may be normal for a forum. Sponsored links may be normal for a publication with an advertising model. Nofollow links may be common in mentions from large platforms. So the dominance of one attribute does not by itself prove that the profile is weak or unnatural. The report serves a different purpose, to help us understand which types of websites mention the domain and whether the attributes match the real nature of those placements. The final conclusion does not come from a color chart. It comes from the opening the referring pages. Those pages reveals whether the links are editorial mentions, advertisements, forum discussions, or mass-created links. Now we know where the website links out and what its backlink profile looks like. But one critical question remains: where does its organic visibility actually live? To answer that, we open top pages. Overall organic traffic can create a very convincing but misleading picture. A domain may show tens of thousands of visits, making it seem as though every page on the website is strong. Top pages often reveal a very different reality. Perhaps almost all of the traffic comes from one old article, a calculator, or a free tool. Maybe the website ranks only through its homepage and product landing pages, while the blog where we want to place the backlink has almost no search visibility. That is why we need to look not only at the domain, but at how visibility is distributed across it. If a large share of the traffic is concentrated on one or two URLs, the total number overstates the stability of the website as the whole. One page may have ranked for a low competitor query, earned links many years ago, or gained a temporary advantage. That does not prove that the rest of the content can rank as well. For a link builder, the key point is different. Our backlink will most likely appear not on the top performing page, but in the normal or newly published article. So we need to ask whether the type of the page where the placement is planned actually ranks. A particularly revealing example is a strong SaaS domain with an inactive blog. In top pages, we see a home page, pricing pages, integration pages, product pages, and branded comparison pages. They receive strong traffic, so domain's overall visibility looks convincing, but the informational articles barely rank. This means the website earned its traffic through the product and the brand, not through its content section. There is nothing inherently wrong with that, but our backlink will be placed in a blog, not on the pricing page. If the blog has no traffic, keywords, internal support, or referring domains of its own, we are getting a link from a strong domain on a weak page in a weak section. On paper, it may look like a backlink from a high DR website. In practice, its potential may be much lower. Reviewing top pages follow a simple process. First, look at the top 20 or 50 URLs and group them by type: homepage, product pages, landing pages, blog post, glossary pages, tool, documentation, or resource content. Then assess whether the section where the link will be placed appears among the leading pages. If the exact URL is known, review its organic traffic, keywords, UR, internal links, and referring domains of its own. A positive signal is when informational content regularly appears in top pages and traffic is distributed across multiple relevant articles. A risk signal is when the entire domain depends on the brand, one random page, or an old tool, while the target section is almost invisible. It is also important to review similar content. If we plan a link insertion in an article about email marketing, check whether other pages in the website's marketing topic cluster rank. This gives us a more realistic assessment than the total traffic of the entire domain. That is why a website with lower overall traffic but an active, topically relevant blog may be a better link prospect than a large domain where all traffic comes from the product and nobody sees the articles. Traffic only shows the current visibility. To understand where domain's backlink strengths came from, we open top link pages, sometimes called best by links. This report shows which URLs have attracted the most backlinks and referring domains. It may be the homepage, evergreen articles, research, free tools, alt content, redirects, or even deleted pages. If most referring domains point to current topically relevant content, the source of the domain's backlink strength is clear. But if the DR depends on a few old URLs that no longer exist or on pages from a completely different topic, the overall score may not reflect the strength of the current content. This is where we need to review the history of the domain. Sometimes a strong aged domain is purchased after the original project ends and it's completely repurposed. For example, a former educational or government website may become an affiliate website about casinos, loans, or products. Google has a specific category for manipulative use of such domains, expired domain abuse. A change of ownership or topic is not automatically a violation. The risk appears when the old reputation is used primarily to promote new, no-value content. That is why top-linked pages should be reviewed together with the domain's history and its current topic. At this stage, this is also useful to collect technical signals of possible website networks. Many referring domains from the same IP range, several websites with almost identical backlink profiles, systematic cross-linking within the same group, or a significant backlink profile with no organic keywords may all indicate an artificially created profile. But one technical signal is not proof of a PBN. Websites may use the same CDN or hosting provider, belong to the same legitimate company, or link to one another naturally. What matters is the combination of several signals: network patterns, weak traffic, unnatural anchors, templated content, and commercial outbound links to unrelated niches. We will first inspect the website manually, then use Ahrefs to test whether the metrics support the concerns we see. Let's apply the framework. We will move from the homepage and blog to organic visibility, top pages, and finally the balance between referring domains and link domains. The goal is to evaluate the full pattern, not only an isolated metric. The homepage does not clearly explain what product or service the site offers. In the blog, the topics are scattered and there is no consistent editorial focus. This does not prove spam, but it raises the first question: was the site built mainly for publishing content and selling links? At first glance, DR71 and about 43,000 traffic looks strong. But the site ranks only for 21 keywords, which is highly unusual. The report shows that visibility is dominated by the brand keyword Gigzilla.io, likely sending most traffic to the homepage. Top Pages confirms that pattern. 80% of traffic goes to the homepage, while almost the entire blog is invisible in search. The one ranking article is about swimming headphones, an unrelated topic for a site positioned around marketing. This suggests weak ranking performance and no clear topical focus. This ratio does not prove a link farm, but together with unclear positioning, unrelated content, and weak blog visibility, it strongly suggests a low-quality, placement-driven site with a high spam risk. This example shows why manual review and metrics must support each other. The visible editorial inconsistencies raise questions, while the outbound link and backlink reports help us test those questions. When the same risk signals appear at the content, domain, and page levels, we can make a well-supported decision instead of relying on intuition. With the practical example complete, we can return to the main rule. Metrics only become useful when they are interpreted together. No single metric gives us a verdict. A high DR does not compensate for an inactive blog. Strong traffic does not guarantee that it belongs to the relevant section. A large backlink count may come from only one sidewise sources, and a high number of linked domains may be normal for a directory but suspicious for a product blog. So we evaluate not one signal, but the combination of signals. First, look at where the visibility lives. Does the relevant section rank? And does the specific page have potential? Then review topical logic. Does the author have a natural reason to mention the destination page? And would the reader have a reason to follow the link? Next, evaluate the health of the profile, the quality of referring domains, the nature of outbound links, and the absence of systematic network patterns. Only after that should DR and total traffic return as supporting indicators. One red flag is almost never a final verdict. A moderate traffic decline, one irrelevant keyword, a high number of linked domains in a directory may all have reasonable explanations. The decision changes when several signals appear together. For example, high DR, almost no traffic, thousands of repeated backlinks, commercial links to unrated niches, and a blog full of templated articles. Each signal can be explained in isolation. Together, they form a clear pattern. Positive signals work the same way. Active traffic in relevant section, relevant keywords, independent referring domains, natural outbound links, and a strong placement page can make a website a good link prospect, even if its DR is less impressive. And finally, no combination of numbers can replace a manual review. Open the home page, the About page, several recent articles, author pages, and the blog categories. Check whether the website has a clear editorial focus, whether it is updated, who creates the content, and where the links inside this article lead. Then open the exact placement page. Review its content, anchor text, surrounding text, internal linking, and neighboring outbound links. Check whether the page is accessible from the main navigator or a relevant category, whether it has an update date and an author, and whether it has a logical place in the content structure. The practical test remains very simple. Will the backlink look like a useful recommendation for the reader or like a random SEO insertion? If adding the destination page requires completely changing the point of the sentence or creating an unnatural paragraph, the problem is not in the anchor. The problem is the website or the page itself. Metrics narrow the list. A person makes the decision. That is a core skill in evaluating a link prospect. Not finding one attractive number, but seeing the complete picture of the domain, the section, and the specific page. So across video 3 and 4, we have covered the full process of evaluating a prospective referring website, from authority metrics, organic traffic, and referring domains, to outbound link analysis, top pages, domain history, and the exact placement page. Now you know how to combine metrics with manual review, evaluate websites properly, recognize systematic risk patterns, and identify link farms and spam sites. Remember, a high-quality link prospect is not simply a website with a high DR. It is a relevant, active, understandable resource where the link looks natural and useful to the reader. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next videos.